Hello, everyone, and welcome to Linux Forensics here at Pentester Academy. In this video, we're going to continue our discussion of how you could use MySQL in order to speed up some of the things you might do in your forensics investigations. So in the previous video, we showed you how to create a table called files, and we had all that metadata that we created from a script after we mounted our image, and we showed you how to do some very basic queries with that after you loaded it in. Now, another thing that you might want to load is the password file. So I have a script here. It creates a users table, and this users table essentially has all of the fields from my password file. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go here, paste it, and I've created the user table. Now I can load it. How do I load this table? Well, this table is already in a delimited file. It's in the password file. This one is colon delimited instead of semicolon delimited. So if I go back here, what I've done is I went ahead and I copied my password file and also my group file to my temp directory, and I'm going to call load data in file. What I'm going to do is load the data from the file temp password into the table users. The fields are terminated by colons now, and they're enclosed by double quotes, and the lines are terminated by new lines. Notice I don't have to do anything near as complicated as I did with the files table. So I will take that, copy it, go back to MySQL, and paste it. And boom, that's done. That happened in well under a second. I can select all those rows. And here you can see my various users. Now, there are a couple reasons that I might want to do this. I want to see things like people's login shells, their home directories, but the other thing that I might like to use this information for is to correlate a user ID to a username. And I'll show you how you can do that with some queries in a little bit. So before I do that, I wanted to show you how I can go and import the groups. So I create a table called groups, and it reads the group file. And it has a group name, password hash, a group ID, and then a list of users in each group. So let me create that table. I'll copy here and paste. That's done. And I can go back and load it. And again, I've copied this from my image, which I mounted, to my temp directory. Copy here and paste once again. And now I have 66 rows. So I have more groups than I have users in this case. So now, if I want to look at some files, I could run my query, and I could do something like this. I could say select access date, access time, my file name, my permissions, and I want the user who owns the file. So I can say I want the username, and I'm going to select this from files and from users where files dot user ID equals users dot UID. I want to order by access date, access time, descending, which is actually just DESC. I put in my semicolon. It'll take a couple seconds for this to run. But now I have a printout where instead of having a bunch of numbers for my users, I in fact have a username. And of course, many of these files are owned by root. I could actually check and say, where this is true and files dot user ID not equal to 0. And I get a lot less. And depending on the situation, this might tell me more. So here I see light DM, color D, and some other things that are happening. I see lots of files. I see lots of files that are owned by John, which makes sense. He seems to be the primary user on the system, etc. Again, why bother? The nice thing about putting this into a database is that your queries tend to be very fast, but they can also be very flexible. Now, sometimes I'm a little bit old school and I like to do queries in actual SQL and even in the MySQL client. You don't have to do that. You can always use a tool like PHP admin or anything else that you prefer in order to do these queries. Now, here's what I do like about it. I like the flexibility. Here's a good example. Just today in one of my classes at the university, I had some students working on a project. A commercial tool wasn't working because of some technical glitches in the lab, and we had to use Autopsy to complete this assignment. Now, Autopsy has a lot of nice views into your data, but it has a limited set. So, if you have something like this where you've put your data into a database, this will allow you to be extremely flexible. So, for example, Autopsy will allow you to say, I only want to look at files of a certain type, or I only want to look at files of a certain size. If I have this in a database, it is very simple to do both of these things. And that's what makes this very powerful. Again, this is optional. You don't have to do this. You don't even have to make the CSV files and look at it in a spreadsheet. I just find it very useful. Well, that's all for this video. As always, if you're enjoying these videos here at Pen Tester Academy, tell a friend and help us spread the word. Realize that the more people that subscribe, the more videos we are able to provide to you. See you soon.